You know, I've been told all my life that I didn't belong.
But now I can be longer than ever before! If you've seen the end of Space Jam with Michael Jordan, you know that Michael Jordan stretches his arm out really long. But what you might not know is that that was real and that actually happened. And now, just like Michael Jordan, I too can extend my vengeance to the farthest reaches known to man. You bitch. I can also extend the warranty on your car. But I won't! Boom! Space Jam! Fuck you! And I know what you're thinking. If Space Jam is real, that means I can get slightly taller like Don Cheadle at the end of Space Jam 2. But no! Only the first Space Jam was real. You're stuck at 5'8", and also I'm not telling you how to stretch your arms. I'm Lyle Rath, and this is Pregame Discharge, the only video game show that belongs where it needs to.
The PlayStation 5 Pro has been announced. The big difference compared to the base PS5 is the graphics card, which will have 67% more compute units and will also be able to upscale with a DLSS type feature. Other than that, same CPU, same 16 gigs of RAM, although at slightly higher RPM, and it comes with a 2TB SSD. It's gonna run 700 buckaroonies if you're an Americanian, or a whopping 800 fucking euros if you're a peon. On top of that, it doesn't come with a disc drive, so that's an extra hundo. And more egregiously, in my opinion, it doesn't even come with a stand. Dude, that's like $2 of plastic, and you show it vertical in all the marketing images. Are you fucking kidding me? $30? Now, the internet was outraged. I personally think, aside from piecemealing basic shit like that, if you don't own a PS5 in the first place, maybe it's worth it to put a couple extra $100 down. Maybe it's not. But here's where I bump with it. There's this super impressive list of 55 PS5 games that run better on the PS5 Pro. Wow. And I don't know, maybe fuck me for asking, right? But like, shouldn't that list be all of them? If we're gonna take the you get what you pay for performance of PC gaming into the console market, then why is a console with 33 teraflops of graphic number still running Bloodborne like it's a base form PS4? This isn't something I literally don't know the answer to, by the way. You don't have to actually me on it. I just think it's worth pointing out. Anyways, Tokyo Game Show happened last week, and Sony's presentation was probably the biggest since they're trying to justify a new shiny piece of hardware, with the big announcement being Ghost of Tsushima 2, which is not called Ghost of Tsushima, and not even actually called Ghost of Tsushima 2, but Ghost of Yotei. The game will center around a new protagonist and setting, which I have a problem with, because you expect me to believe there was a woman in Japan, like all the way back then? Nice try. But yeah, as far as eye candy games to go graphics, and sell a new, more powerful console, Ghost of Tsushima is a good series to do that with. On the same note, they're remaking Horizon Zero Dawn, the first one, and again, I know why, graphics after all, but also kind of a phenomenal waste of time and resources to remaster a game that still looks like this. It's like corporate OCD. Like, why make a game with cutting edge graphics if you're just gonna endlessly touch it up? Move on. There was a trailer for Dragon Age the Veilguard, and kind of just a lot on Dragon Age the Veilguard in the last month or so. Some journalists and influencers got to play like 7 hours of it at some kind of press event, so there's tons of juicy details trickling out, and impressions overall seemed fairly positive. Of course, with things like that, you gotta keep in mind that the people there were probably not necessarily paid to be there. That's pretty uncommon. But you know, they get a free vacation and an exclusive look at a shiny new thing. That said, take-home thoughts are that the character creator is very detailed, the gameplay is a lot more actiony, some of your choices from Inquisition will carry over, or you can generate them if you don't still have your save, and one guy I was watching says it seems a lot tighter and more focused than Inquisition, which was a great 20-hour game that just took 80 hours to beat, so fingers crossed that last thing is true. There was a bit of a focus on VR games, which is actually something that would benefit from the extra yaw of a stronger GPU. The show opener was this really cool and freaky claymation looking one called The Midnight Walk from the developers that made that Lost in Random game if you've ever wanted to live in a Nightmare Before Christmas fever dream, and there were trailers for VR Hitman and Metro games. games. On top of that, a new Alan Wake DLC is coming later this month. Neir and Stellar Blade are doing a Goonerbot crossover thing, but I don't know if that's like a full-blown thing or just some costumes in a level. We got new trailers for Monster Hunter Wilds and Dynasty Warriors Origins. Keanu Reeves is coming on Shadow, and Shadow is downing his load in the Sonic X Shadow /fic or something. They also put a hype as fuck anime trailer out for that thing. It looks so fucking sick. If you have even a single drop of autism in you, it'll make all the hair in your arm stand up. It fucking rocks. Edge is so fucking back, baby. And hey, the Legacy of Kain games are getting remastered. I know I played the second one as a kid. I do not remember if it was actually good. There were two games that looked kind of interesting, but I couldn't get a beat on. First, there was Arcade Chronicles, which according to Elliot, known Australian,
Australia's not even a real country,
is the sequel to an MMO. I guess according to the Steam description, this is an MMO too, but I'm not seeing a lot of that in this trailer. It seems to have some sort of combat system that looks like something between The Witcher and For Honor, which if this is an MMO, that's either really cool or more realistically, this trailer's making it look a lot better than it is. The other game is called Hell Is Us, which is a post-apocalyptic open-world action, maybe Souls-like, with some kind of Death Stranding-y vibes. I'm sort of intrigued by the little bit I saw of this, but again, this is one that's kind of hard to read just from the trailer. Microsoft's presentation was mostly just trailers for stuff we've seen already. Metal Gear Solid Delta and Indiana Jones would probably be the most high profile, but with the least to say about them at this point. Starfield got a deep dive video going into detail on the new Shattered Space DLC. Most of it is just talking about story and stuff like that, so I won't go into detail on it. But the big takeaway for me was that the whole thing takes place on one single planet. Meaning if you didn't really enjoy the fuck around of the whole space travel system where you kind of can't do anything and just want to go back to the basics on the Bethesda formula, maybe there's something here for you. But as I would say before jettisoning someone out of the airlocks, if that game was cool and actually let you do that, I wouldn't bother holding your breath. We got to see some in-depth gameplay of that Fragpunk hero shooter with cards game, which I begrudgingly have to admit looks kind of fun, even though I hates cards. I hates them. I just don't know where the demand for that is right now, especially considering what just happened with Concord. I'll get to that later. There's a game called Altair Yumia that looks like this, and then it cuts to the lead developer and he's like, oh yeah, it's just like Halo, you'll love it. We're just out here saying shit. Cool, wake me when you need me, pussy queen. Honestly, it seems like it apes elements from a lot of games actually. I'm not seeing Halo, but maybe it's in there somewhere, I don't know. They also did a gameplay deep dive on Slitterhead where they desperately tried to explain what the fuck. And I guess as a miscellaneous hipster indie pick, there was this 3D hybrid pixel art game called Threads of Time in there, and it looked very neat. See, I can be positive when I don't understand something. It just has a similar rate to when I do. The third game in the Class of 09 series, Class of 09 The Flipside, is out now on Steam. This video is not sponsored, but Wrath Club is the publisher of the game, so I do get paid if you buy it. It's the final visual novel style game in the series, and the most controversial thing we've done so far. So if you live life on the edge, crush that shit up and snort it. And on top of that, we got the full-length anime pilot on the way. There's going to be a new Yakuza game called Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. This one stars everyone's favorite knife guy Majima and probably reuses a bunch of assets from Infinite Wealth. It's got the more traditional Yakuza style beat 'em up combat instead of the turn-basy one, which I guess is the default for the series now, question mark. Netflix are doing another Cyberpunk anime. Without saying too much, this is not a season 2 of Edgerunners because that show pretty much had a definitive ending, but it was sick as fuck, so I'm stoked to see it quote-unquote come back. Concord is Goncord. No, I could do better than that. Concord is... fuck. In what is possibly the most monumental flop in the history of video games, the game was shut down on September 6th, just 2 weeks after launch, with its final moments occupied almost entirely by players grinding for achievements by immediately wiping their own team so that the matches would end as quick as possible. The game took around 8 years to develop and cost a bare minimum of $200 million, but according to rumors, may even have been as much as double that. And while I don't don't hold any grudge against this game in particular. As someone who hates the current live service landscape, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't at least a little bit morbidly thrilled by such a massive corpse being strung up as a warning to the rest of the industry. And make no mistake, the live service game is far from dead, but it's not a safe bet guaranteed to print money anymore, especially since they're all online only and servers are expensive. As for Concord itself, I wouldn't be surprised if it came back eventually as a free-to-play or something, since so much work and money has already gone into it, but I guess only time will tell. Anyway, here are the game releases for the month.
I'm Lyle Rath, and this has been Pregame Discharge.
We got a new cartoon coming out in like a week, and a lot more cool shit we're working on for the end of the year. So, I don't know, subscribe? Is that what you say as a YouTube? You say subscribe? Yeah, I'll do that. You watched for this long. You might as well watch more for some other time.